What's good, man?
What's up, brother, man? Excited to be here. This is a beautiful space, man.
Man, thank you. I'm loving the sneakers, man. I'm glad we got another sneaker fanatic or specialist. I like to consider myself
Yeah.
when it comes to sneakers in the house. I hope you're ready for next weekend because I'm coming. I hope you're ready for next weekend because
Yeah,
I'm
man.
coming.
Yeah. Stay ready, brother. Stay ready, man. So I'm excited. I appreciate all your support, man, and look forward to us partnering not just on this and some of the things that I'm doing, but just future endeavors as well, man. Excited.
Absolutely. That's exactly why you're here because I like what you're doing and the long game of your plan. And I think that first of all, the city needs it,
Yeah.
and it's just fun. It was just a good ass time,
Appreciate
for
it.
lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So, once again, thank you so much for joining us on this adventure on getting a better understanding of what makes a good man.
Sure.
The topic today is weak men,
Okay.
all right, and what that looks like when it comes to your perception, how you see that. Okay, I want to ask you a question. Now, everybody talks about vulnerability and a man being vulnerable, you shouldn't be vulnerable. Do you think vulnerability is a weak trait in a man or just in general?
Yeah, no, I actually don't, man. I actually think it's one of the strongest traits, man, because by us being vulnerable, by us being not afraid to show our flaws, show our weaknesses, show the areas that we need improvement on, and being willing to speak on those and expose those, that's how we learn.
Right.
To me, that's another form of iron sharpening iron, man. You've got to be willing to, in a trusting environment, a trusting circle,
Right.
be able to show guys, hey man, like this is where I messed up at. This is where I can be better at.
Right.
That is, I think showing your vulnerability is one of your strongest traits. It's one of a man's strongest traits for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. In today's society where, every meme, every punchline is eat a cup of concrete, drive a big car, be a man, be a man, be a
Yeah.
man, and it not being truly defined for most, one thing about being vulnerable is saying, I don't understand.
I don't
I'm
understand.
I can't.
Yeah. I don't have it all figured out.
Right.
Yeah.
And not being attacked or shot down by
Right.
it. Are there any other traits you think that are misunderstood when it comes to weak men?
I think that sometimes for guys that are emotional
Right.
or I'll go a step. Coming up, I felt like I was a part of the nice guys finish last. Like
Okay,
being
yeah,
nice, being
yeah.
a good guy.
Right.
I wasn't. I felt like other versions of men got a little bit more respect, and I'm talking about. I'll speak specifically, maybe like in college years and the years right after.
Right.
Like in that space, there's guys that are just dogs, man. Like
Right.
I knew guys that were brutal about it, didn't care, would kick you out 6 a.m, all that type of stuff, man.
You got to go.
Yeah.
Right.
They just played by that code. That was
Right.
it. No feelings, no stress. But I was a different type. I didn't mind when the ladies stayed the night. I didn't, things
right.
like that. And
Right.
I felt like I was being penalized because I was the nice guy. I was a good guy and things like that. And so sometimes I think that even something as small as that can be looked at through the long lens. Because then when you get older, and a lot of times I would come across women that was like, man, why was I chasing this version of guy or that version of guy
After the
when
fact, yeah.
the good guy was so consistent during that years, he just was a nice guy. He wasn't, and things like that. So I think that sometimes that's another version that the nice guy can
Right.
get himself in trouble, unfortunately.
Okay, now let's dig into that a little bit because I, like you, was a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. So what makes that so unappealing to women? And let's go back to, let's say, our era as opposed to now. What makes that so why unappealing or unattractive to women?
Yeah, it's funny, man. I just think that ladies, as they grow, I think it's just a stage for them. Honestly,
Really?
I think that some girls were attracted to the bad boy.
Right.
Some girls were attracted to the dope boy, all these different type of things. And sometimes the nice guy, the good guy,
Right.
kind of got lost in the shuffle because at that stage he didn't have a lot of appeal. He wasn't a bad boy. He wasn't fighting.
Right.
He hadn't necessarily got his money up. He wasn't moving with a lot of paper yet. He wasn't that guy. He wasn't the dope boy, the hustler, things like that. He was just a good, classic, consistent guy. You know, for me, I kind of felt like that's how I was, except, you know, like I was silly, I was funny, and that was kind of my angle. Like, if I could make you laugh, I felt like I could win, you know, whatever. But even still, like I said, I think for a lot of women, it was just the growth. You know, like they had to kind of go through that stage and figure out what they liked. And a lot of times in those years, you kind of attracted to what's not for you instead of what is.
The risk factor of
the risk factor.
of it.
And guys, you know, the good guys like us, we were low risk, you know, low maintenance, low risk.
He'll raise the child.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so it's funny times.
So, like, nowadays, in this society, do you think that social media influence are playing into, are they sensationalizing, bettering the positioning of the weaker man, or the gentleman, or the gentle guy, or are they making it worse, where there is making this hard difference between nice guy or, you know, bad guy?
Yeah, I feel like the internet, social media has given the classic guy, the good guy, I feel like it's given him a platform to finally be appreciated. But I also feel like social media is such a scary place where, you know, it's a land of extremes, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, somebody says, we're moving this, or bump that. Then everybody's like, bump that, you know, whatever. And so
herd mentality.
it's a place of extremes. But I do feel like the good guy, the consistent guy, is getting his shine because he can show, hey, here's why, here's what I do. You know, me, I try to use my social media that way. You know, you're going to see me spending time with my wife. You're going to see me taking care of my kids.
Right.
You're going to see me being the good guy that I know I am in just my everyday way of life and things like that. And I feel like, you know, so yeah, I do feel like social media has helped in that aspect.
So let me ask you this. So this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is how you're showing your life, and your friends and people are seeing it. Your children are seeing it. It is your consistency that presents your message of how you come across. This is who I am.
Sure.
What else do we need to do to champion the situation where we redefine what society says as weak and what is actually a good trait? We talked about the vulnerability, being in touch with your emotion, being a genuinely good guy. Things that, you know, right now are cool because everything in this day and age has its own platform.
Right.
Be whatever you want to rock, to whatever you want. Everybody has a level of sensation.
Right, of course.
But how do we get this into the school system? How do we get it across on a bigger mass? What do you think that we need to do as influencers or dads or men to get this, to redefine this perception of what is weak, what should be celebrated, what is important for characteristics for your son and my son, to be able to get it across? What do we do?
Well, that's a tough one, man. And I Lord knows, I wish I had the answers for it. You know, there's something to be said about us continuing on the path that we're on. But we're just two guys, you know, just one and one. There's a lot more of the opposite than just us. So those of us you've got to continue being an example. You've got to continue finding any opportunity you can to not only mentor and lead your child or put your influence on there, but other kids as well, other young people you come across as well. Let them know that it's okay to be yourself, because ultimately that's what we want people to do. Is you don't have to get pushed around by all the external influences. You can just be yourself and be okay. And that's what we should be telling. Now, unfortunately, you and I have lived enough to know that that's not right. You got to have some tough skin to survive in this world. You've got to be able to stand up for yourself. You know, when the world pushes back and tries to cower you down, you've got to have strength to survive and strength to overcome.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot to it. But I think I think there's something to be said about just trying to continually put good out there and trying to influence others when you have the opportunity. So like for my son who's 14, he's starting to build his, my son is, it's taking my son a really long time to build friendships. You know,
Right.
he has some of the social anxieties and things that I don't have.
Right.
And so, which kind of affected our father-son relationship because his sisters are very much like me, can walk into any room and all those sorts of things. But my son, it kind of takes him a second. And so at 14, he's just now starting to build some meaningful friendships that I hope are going to carry him through high school. And so I say all that to say, as he's building his tribe now, I want to be a positive influence on that tribe. I want to be a welcoming influence. I want to know his friends by name,
Right.
ask how they're doing, ask what they're up to. You know, I want him to feel like it's okay for me to bring my friends around. It's okay for me to have that comfortability as I'm growing these friendships and things like that, and know that my dad's got my back and he's a believer and he's supportive and things like that. And hopefully that bleeds into some of the other kids, and that so it helps them attract and build and retain the right type of people.
Yeah, that makes sense. You give them a different option, and your consistency.
Yeah, for sure.
With your relationship with your son shows them that there's value there.
Absolutely.
And you're right. Like you said before, it's just you and me talking about this, but in the same sense, it's just you and me, and then one other, and then one other, then one other.
And that's it. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, and one other. So, you know, one of the things about this conversation, these conversations we're having, is to get like-minded people together.
Sure.
So therefore, we can rely on each other to take the place of, step in, because just as much as I'm a positive role model in my son and vice versa, doesn't mean that you can't be the same thing for my son.
Right.
Same thing, and I for yours. It's being able to have a collective of positive male role models that are allowed to imprint on our kids
Absolutely.
and give them the range.
Yeah.
You know, just because I'm not skilled at this doesn't mean that you can't be.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we allow our weaknesses to become our kids' weaknesses.
For sure.
If I'm
Absolutely.
afraid of spiders. My son might be afraid of spiders, but instead of understanding this is my demon, this is where I failed, you know, this is what you should do, Mark. You know, I deal with anxiety. I know my son does too, so I show him these are my tools.
Okay.
This is what I deal with.
Yeah.
And vice versa. He's like, well, these are my tools, Dad. And then we share from them. He has
Sure.
more options.
Sure.
So that way he can be better. And then these moments when you feel weakness, because I mean, I think all men at some point feel a level of weakness. We ain't great at
absolutely.
everything. So therefore,
Absolutely.
when we feel it, we know we have resources or people or a skill set to go to. So, okay, yeah, I'm just, at this moment I am working to better myself. And so therefore, it is no longer a hurdle for me. It's just something that I go through from time to time. So
For sure.
I
And
totally get it.
I think while I don't full on know your goals with Dapper House,
Yeah.
but in my opinion, that like this has the potential to be that. This has the ability to be a safe space for guys, because when you get to our age, man, because men, we are fragile in areas, and because we are protective of our strength and our vulnerabilities, we don't realize oftentimes that being in rooms like this and places like this with other guys, where we can take the chip off the shoulder, off
Right.
the block for a second, and can let down our cool and can bond with other guys and figure out, okay, you're better at this than I am.
Right.
How do I, and start to lean on each other. You know, a lot of us have done that in the barbershop. But even there, that space is changing, because a lot of times, the barbers now are going to the apps and things like that. So it's not 8, 9 guys sitting in a shop like it used to
Right,
be.
right.
You popping in for your appointment. And so having a space like this that is welcoming, that's got couches, that's got things, it's got a bar, it's got room for men to sit around and hang with each other and find our lane with one another. Surely out of that is going to come some positives. Surely out of that, some iron's going to sharpen iron,
Yeah.
and there'll be some change, man. So this is, in my opinion, this is going to help pave the way.
Yeah. The reality is that's why we built this place.
Okay.
For a space for men to be among men and be able to exercise ideas.
Yeah.
A safe place not to be judged.
Yeah.
And be welcome.
Yeah.
So yeah, what you're saying does check our boxes for us. These are our goals for Dapper House, and to continue the conversation so that way you meet new people.
Yeah.
Always adding to the list of people we interact with, so therefore we have a diversity of skill set, diversity of experience, diversity of knowledge, diversity of age. So
Yeah.
therefore you get a well-rounded.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when our sons come through here, children we interact with, where they get a well-rounded experience. And when you're well-rounded and you have range, then there's nothing that you can't do
Yeah.
because you have the foundation or the village or the collective
Yeah.
to say, yeah, of course you can. Just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, this is, and it looks the part. This is comfortable for everybody, man. This is the type of place where your six-figure earner can sit down and drink a beer with your guy that's making $20 an hour.
Yeah.
And the $20 an hour man can say, hey, what do I need to do? What did you do to become a six-figure annual earner?
Right.
What did you do? What career path? What did you do? What skill sets? What did you choose for yourself?
Right.
And then those things can rub off. This guy, maybe the hourly guy, maybe he only finished high school. Maybe he didn't fool with college because he didn't feel like it was me.
Right.
Maybe the six-figure guy has got it. Or maybe the six-figure guy hustled his way to it. Maybe he figured out other avenues. He started a business. And so this $20 an hour guy's got this skill set. He said, man, I didn't think about that. There's other ways to go about it.
Right.
There's other ways to get there. And me sitting here drinking this beer with you here at Dapper House is a way for me to, realize, oh, there's other ways to get there, and I can still provide for my family, and I can make peace and do things like that. So yeah, man, this is great.
Man, I appreciate it. The sweetest thing is being able to have range and options.
Yeah.
And when you have options, that means that you can, if one thing fails, you have a plan A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
And a lot of us in life, we don't have options. We only have one way to go. If I don't make it this way, then there's no other way for me to do it.
Right.
And if this platform does that, then it's worth everything that we put into it this time. Mr. Large, I appreciate you coming through and hanging out with me.
Oh man, anytime,
This
bro.
is
I'm
excellent.
gonna be here. I'm gonna be a familiar face in here,
excellent.
man.
We're looking forward to chopping up some more, and stay tuned, man, because this is about to be dope.